And so the Pope is coming to the Philippines. Filipinos were excited from the moment the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines announced Pope Francis' intention to visit the Philippines in January 2015. Filipino Catholics from all over the country went frenetic in their hopeful preparation for the Holy Father's visit. The Society of St. Paul, Philippine Macau Province, was blessed to be involved in this historic event. The St. PAULS Audiovisual was personally tapped by the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines as a media entity to cover Pope Francis' pastoral visit in Tacloban, Philippines. Various equipment were readied, and members from the juniorate community of the Society of St. Paul were blessed and sent for this rare mission. Aside from this huge task, the Society of St. Paul was likewise privileged to come up with a special edition of SAMBUHAY Misalet, which will be used during Pope Francis' concluding Mass in Luneta.
Ang Panginoong Diyos ay sumasa iyo.
On January 15, 2015, at around 5:20 in the afternoon, Pope Francis arrived in the Philippines. From Villamor Air Base, the Holy Father was already welcomed by thousands of Filipinos lining the route he would take to the Apostolic Nunciature. The Pope was impressed not only by the numbers of Filipino present, but also by the warmth and hospitality Filipinos showed him. In his first morning in the Philippines, Pope Francis made his courtesy visit to President Benigno Aquino III and other government officials in Malacañang Palace. Then he proceeded to Manila Cathedral in Intramuros to celebrate his first ever Mass for the bishops, priests, and religious men and women of the Philippines. In his homily, he called them to action, saying that only by becoming poor ourselves, by stripping away our complacency, will we be able to identify with the least of our brothers and sisters. Diverting from his supposed schedule after the Mass, the Holy Father made himself an example of his own call by visiting Anak Tulay ng Kabataan Foundation, where he had a close encounter with Manila's poor kids. He also listened to their stories. Some even exchanged hugs with him.
Soñar cómo será el hijo. To dream how will your daughter or son be. No es posible una familia sin soñar. It is not possible to have a family without such dreams. Cuando en una familia se pierde la capacidad de soñar, los chicos no crecen, el amor no crece, la vida se debilita y se apaga. When you lose this capacity to dream, then you lose the capacity to love, and this energy to love is lost.
In the afternoon of January 16, he met families at Mall of Asia, Pasay. Touched by the warm welcome of Filipinos, Pope Francis seemed to be comfortable with his audience as he listened, spoke, and reached in his encounter with families. Select members from the participants were given the opportunity to deliver a speech to Pope Francis. They shared their experiences with the Pope, who acknowledged the many challenges to family life. Children and adults alike were given the rare chance to meet the Pope and tell him of their hopes and troubles. Even the deaf were blessed with a spontaneous "I love you" from Pope Francis, a significant gesture that he was not deaf to the reality of the physically challenged. Pope Francis visited Tacloban later on January 17, 2015. In what became a gesture of solidarity with Yolanda survivors, the Holy Father celebrated Mass amidst an impending typhoon that actually cut short the highlight of his visit to the Philippines. Donning a plastic poncho, the Holy Father braved winds and rain that had tested the Filipino spirit time and again. To the so faithful before him, Pope Francis addressed in his spontaneous Spanish homily, "I have no more words to tell you. Let us look to Christ. He is the Lord. He understands us because He underwent all the trials that you have experienced. And beside the cross was His mother. We are like this little child, just there." After his Mass in Tacloban, the Pope traveled to Archdiocese of Palo, where he ate lunch with families who survived Yolanda. The Holy Father met with 24,000 youth delegates at the Pontifical University of Santo Tomas in España, Manila on January 18, 2015. Pope Francis addressed the youth from the heart. He went away from his prepared speech, answering the questions posted to him by the select members of youth participants. At the end of his speech, he explained the reason why he set aside his prepared speech, saying, "Sorry if I haven't read what I prepared for you, but there is a phrase that consoles me, that reality is superior to ideas. That reality that you have is superior to the paper I have in front of me." Following his audience with the youth was his concluding Mass at Quirino Grandstand at around 3:30 in the afternoon. With 6 to 7 million present, Filipinos broke their own record of papal Mass attendance. Truly, no one and nothing can deter people from attending even the threat of heavy rainfall. In fact, this rainfall serves as God's divine approval that truly makes His mercy and compassion present in the person of the Vicar of Christ, Pope Francis. And so we can shout or even sing the last word of the Holy Mass. Thanks be to God.